the best place for the mining industry is right here in Labrador West. No other community stakeholder group looks to the future like this area does. And as often as we have challenges and we look at them and we think that there's daunting things in front of us, this place has been a positive place for many, many, many years. So with this thought of that starting, I'd like to say we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Innu, the Inuit, and the Naskapi people. We strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the unique cultures, languages, and traditions of all who call it home. We commit ourselves to work in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all of us. My role this week is to ensure we take these words to heart, okay? That we commit ourselves to a better future for all of us, that we commit to positive dialogue while sharing our individual passions with respect and responsibility. It would be very easy for us to come in here and pound the table and say, this is bad, that's bad, this is what, you have to change this. That's not the focus of this room. The focus of this room is to find the path forward with all the stakeholders working together. A little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, many of you should know me. I was born in Wabash. I don't think there's too many of us that was actually born. Me and Ron were probably the only ones in the room that were actually born in Wabash, not in Labrador City. We were born in Wabash in a small little shack on the site of Wabash Mines. That was very interesting. That's before, I think, the Captain William Jackman was July of 65. So that gives you an idea of how old Ron and I are. I grew up in this community. I'm looking around the room and I look at Junior Humphreys, he was my scout leader. I look at Jerry Rideout, skiing was a huge important part of my family's life, and I see him there and I know that that was an important part of my childhood and my growth and my adulthood. I see Graham Leto, he was my very first supervisor at IOC, and I think that I'm up here standing here talking to you now. When he thinks of me, he remembers this guy who used to backtalk him all the time and was on a hose and cleaning spirals as a 22-year-old. It's been a long journey. I worked at IOC for 31 years before I pensioned out, and my wife and I, we raised 5 children here. They had opportunities that most children in the world will never get. So it's something that I'm proud of, and I'm glad I can be back here to share that with you. I'm presently consulting, moved from operations into the consulting role, and we're living in working in Timmins. We have our home in Ottawa, but this will always remain home in my heart. So another thing you might want to know about my family is that my stepson works here at IOC now. He's 26 years old, but he's 5th generation. Our family's been tied to mining, whether it's been in Sudbury in the Nickel Belt or here at IOC. And now my wife and I are in Timmins. That's 5 generations of family that have been working in the mining industry. It's a part of who we are. It's a part of how we identify ourselves. So it's something that's really important to us. Growing up in Labrador West and watching my children grow up here, the opportunities have been tremendous, but the challenges have also been tremendous. But what I've learned and what I've seen is, no matter what the storm, whether it's 1982 and a true blizzard, or whether it's a blizzard of economic issues, or it's a blizzard of social issues, the community has always come together to make things right. So I wanted to share that and everybody to understand that even though we have a lot of things in front of us that we see as challenging, things that are not what we don't feel are right or could be better, which is always the case, this place has got a lot of things to be proud of. We have a 70+ year history here in the Labrador Trough for mining. The province is in the mid-70s, I think, in age in terms of being a part of Canada. We've been tied together the whole time. I can't think of another industry or another region in Newfoundland and Labrador who's been a constant economic contributor to the province. The fishery has had really big ups and downs. The oil and gas will have ups and downs. It was so slow getting started. Forestry you name it, they've all had their ups and downs. But in the background, Labrador West has been there chugging along, bop, bop, bop. It's like investing in Coca-Cola. You're going to get a dividend every year. It's not going to be exciting, but every year something good happens. Every year you can rely on it giving a good turn to the province and to the people that live here. So I want us to think about that as we're going forward here. This is a positive situation. This is not us coming here looking for winners and losers. This is a situation where if we do this right, as we've done in the last 75 years, 70 years, it's win-win-win for everybody. Any investment we do now, anything that we put into this community and into this region is a win-win-win, whether that's for the local citizens, whether that's for the mining companies, whether that's for the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. It is that opportunity there. And we should look at it in that mindset rather than looking at it as everybody doing something wrong. So that's my little bit of soapbox talk for a little bit. We're going to be moving forward here. A little bit about the schedule over the next couple of days. We will have many presentations during the next couple of days. We'll have a few welcoming speeches here this morning and some introduction to that. Then we will get into the meat of our sessions over the next 3 days, where we will talk about healthcare. We will talk about housing. We will talk about mining and energy. We will talk about travel, labor. We will talk about the big issues that face us day to day. And it's important that these table discussions, that they're positive. My role here is to make sure that we rein in when we have people that are passionate about a certain subject, that we make sure we hear them, but at the same time, it doesn't overwhelm the whole scenario, okay? So we want to make sure that everybody has an equal say, has their input, and we're not just looking here for what the problems are. We all know what the problems are. We're looking for solutions. We're looking for the answer to the future, okay? And we only do that if we work together. Hold that breath there for a second. It only works if we work together. Okay. So that's enough of me. I would like now to introduce a special friend. I've known Belinda for, I don't know, our whole life, I would think. Belinda, we've been here since the beginning. So Mayor Belinda Adams of the town of Labrador City would like to come up and give us a few words, please. Thanks.
We won't even need it. I don't know about this lady. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the beautiful introduction, Ed, and context setting for this today. You're right. We've known each other a long time. Our kids came together up through the system. We came together up through the system, the ups and downs. So when we were looking for a moderator, it only made sense that we asked someone to come back who understood the issues, had children who grew up here, came through the system himself, was a steel worker for so many years of his career, same as myself, and also worked on the other end as staff to understand it. And his family was very active in our community. So thank you, Ed, for joining us. So welcome to the Future of Labrador West Summit. When the idea of a Future of Labrador West Summit was first thought about within the Labrador West Chamber of Commerce and within the community leaders, the vision was to bring all the key players to the table to discuss the issues and real struggles that are obvious to Labrador West. We need future growth and development, and we see that. The esteemed partners that we felt needed to be here were from the municipal, provincial, and federal governments. We needed industry stakeholders, healthcare professionals, housing professionals, mining, energy, and technology, local businesses, and key stakeholders of Labrador West, and now potential and future stakeholders of Labrador West. Steel workers, and of course, our pioneers who built these communities and the residents of Labrador West. Anytime you try to get this much representation, I'll get ahead of myself because I get excited. I'm trying to be good. Throwing out of that any minute now. Just kidding. Anytime you try to get this much representation at any level is a wish and a big ask considering everybody's schedule and what they do. So as names started popping up on the Chamber of Commerce page and who had committed thus far, and it just kept growing, I realized then that we, the Chamber and this community, had already accomplished its first goal. We got your attention. I don't know if anybody realizes it, and I really realize it, and I think this morning looking around and watching the active participants here today, I know I'm going to see it. This is groundbreaking and history making to have this many people in Labrador West. And this is how important this summit is to Labrador West. I don't know who's been in different circles, but this is certainly a lot of government officials here who are taking Labrador West seriously, hopefully, and we'll hold them to it. Each party is here, Labrador Grenfell Health, so it's so important. So we appreciate that. So the first goal was get their attention. Then yesterday, as we were reading the schedule, I had a proud wow moment. And this morning, as I woke to realize, yep, it's here. And will all these people really be at the table? We're full. Bittersweet. As mayor of the town of Labrador City and as an advocate for a better future for Labrador West, we are very grateful and humbled to have the majority of those on our wish list in Labrador West. And we are very grateful and humble to have the majority of those at the table or some presence at the table. In the next couple of days, this is going to be important. Thank you in advance for making the effort to be here. And we look forward to all the discussions in the next few days. As with any event, it takes a lots of hard work and cost to pull this off. Funding support, all hands on deck, in-kind help, and after many sleepless nights, the Chamber made it possible. Thank you to the Chamber for having the vision and doing the work. But in particular, huge shout out to the Executive Director, Leah Rickard, for her time, her efforts, her patience, for her valiant attempt to keep Toby grounded and try and help her, and to get this done, for pulling this all together. It's a small team, and they have got, and the way I looked at it this morning is they got us to the start line. Now it's our job to get it to the finish line. The next several days are pivotal in understanding the issues of Labrador West and how we do pull together collectively to prioritize these issues based on risk. When we say risk, there may be more than one risk. We have financial risk, we have social risk, we have growth and development risks, just to name a few. Although we are touching on a few issues in 3 days, there are still many more issues that will need to be addressed in coming months. The past week, we held public consultation, and it was clear that residents' concerns are the same as council of both communities. And I say this with confidence, town of Wabush and town of Labrador City. And here they are, housing and healthcare. We are in a housing crisis in Labrador West. We can't grow and develop without it. As mayor, that's very concerning, and more concerning for me is we love green space. If you come here in the summer, if you haven't been here, if you've been here in the winter, you know it's beautiful. Come here in the summer, it's beautiful. Green space is beautiful. I don't want to see tents on it. It's one of my biggest fears as a mayor, to have that happen in our community. And we can't grow without the housing and something done with it. Healthcare, all critical for growth and development. Healthcare is across Canada, let's be honest. But from a provincial, municipal, and federal, how do we incentivize to get doctors here? What do we do next? And that's the partnerships we need here. What do we do next to get it here? And it was spoke about again at the open session. Travel, personal and medical. What does it mean? What does it mean for everybody? MTOP was announced on doing a better process. It has improved. What's next step? Is there something else to get us all there? From a personal level, people, we look at the one air traveler. Is there a solution to that? What are some of the things we can work on to make that better? Power. We will not see any growth and development if we don't have power. We will not see green steel without power. We will not see growth and development without power. I'll say it again. We will not see anything without power in Labrador West. and that is critical. We may see a new home being built and power to it, but it's no good if we have no growth and development. So power is a key issue here this week as well. And it's hard to, when we were at our session, it was hard to gauge the residents. It was like, because when you get 5 topics on a list and you're like, healthcare, housing, it's all perspective and where you fit that week. What does it mean, right? So the goal is to make sure that we do prioritize that. We look at labor, recruitment, and retention. You got the key players here for that as well. Recruitment and retention, what does that mean? And I know there's a lot of people around this room who are going to say, shit, I see that. Whoops, sorry. I hear this stuff a lot of times, so it's going to be repeated many times, is recruitment and retention. We're not Toronto. Newfoundland as a community as a whole is just bigger. Labrador West as communities, 2 communities together, fighting for the same goal. We are a community. We need to join together as a community, whether it's the business sector, the governments, provincial, federal, municipal. We need to join together as community to make this a community that can grow and develop. I've had very good success with our contractors around Labrador West, helping us, extremely good success with the mining companies helping us around Labrador West. But it's important to keep going. As mayor, I feel Labrador West should be in a great position in the next few years. Newfoundland and Labrador needs Labrador West and the mining companies to continue with our contribution to the province. IOC and Takora need us, and we, Labrador West, need all of them to be successful as well, and we need to support them for the spin-off of community growth. We have potential investors chomping at the bit to invest money, but we have some serious roadblocks that is holding us back from continuing down the path, and that's a serious risk to these communities right now. Eddie alluded to it, and I'll steal his thunder. I told him that last night I was going to use it, so sorry, Ed. In 70 years of mining, I knew that. This year, congratulations, IC, 70 years of mining. Steadily grew on both sides in population. Alongside houses, schools, sewer systems, and water source, IOC also built the golf course, the ski hill, the hockey rink, communication tower, and much, much more for Labrador West in the last 70 years. Then Wabush Mines was developed, a mining complex that built the town of Wabush as well. So 2 communities built by the mining companies. Now it's time for everybody else to chip in and help us to build what's next in growth and development. Don't get me wrong, Takora and RC, I know we're not going to back off. They're great mining companies and great community social sponsors, but we need to get to the next level. If you look at, for those who don't know around the table, there's a lot here. If you look at 70 years of mining, it's been cyclical, no doubt about it. It's been more than cyclical. I was laid off for 4 years before I got back full time, went to university in and out because of it. And thankfully I was unionized and I got called back to continue my career here. It's been cyclical, but people are afraid to take risks now because they think it's cyclical. So we have to change that. We need to build on the confidence of the mines and where they are today and stop letting risk hold us back and look for opportunities for growth and development and support each other in partnership styles to get there. Labrador West has its ups and downs, but one thing stayed constant, as Ed alluded to, and that's the people in these communities, their big hearts, investing in a mining town. That has not changed. We have an opportunity, all of us today, become community partners in the resolution and ideals of Labrador West's future, not just because I want it, and I'm going to be relentless to have it, I'll tell you that. Our residents want it. But it's not because the resident wanted it either, but because we all need it and we all deserve it. If you look on the back board there, you see the Labrador West Summit. I invite you to go down and have a look. See the stickies? That board was up in the mall and people put their stickies on it. It was at the Arts and Culture Center, but then we put it in the mall to get more visibility on it. All these stickies, I'd say if I took them out, the top 5 that we've been discussing is probably on most of them. So it's a common problem within the community and people recognize it. So we need it. So the partnership has to happen. it's a lot of us around it. We do. We can reach out at any time. When we talk seniors housing, it comes about. If someone said to me, "Oh, we got seniors housing, but oh my goodness, we need a plumber." I know I can put up my hand and call a plumber and have them come today if they knew their senior was without water. So why can't we do it on a bigger scale? We have to do it on a bigger scale. So, and I'm going to repeat a good friend of mine, previous coworker, who always reminds me of this, and it's talked about a lot. I don't think people truly get it sometimes. We don't want a mining town. We want a town with a mine. Bar C were to shut down today in Tacora. Very thankful that Tacora is working through some humps. That's the way it goes. I still have lots of confidence in them and where they're going. But we want a town with a mine. If the towns were to close today, it would be like Great Harbor Deep doing resettlement. So let's be proactive instead of reactive and resettling. Years ago, if you look at the seniors, as everybody knows, nobody stayed here. Right now, my mom stayed here because she has all her family here. And so do many others as I look out across. They have their families here, so they're not going. So we're not prepared for it. We weren't reactive. This is the start. The summit has to be the start of making that difference to get to the next level. It has to be. So I'll use an example now. I'm a bit of a storyteller. Okay. Lydia's giving me a thumbs up, I'm not sure. Stop it, Lydia. I feel like I'm married again. Oh, that was thumbs down, sorry. All jokes, guys, seriously. In my previous role at IFC, I use this example. In my previous role at IFC, I have 32 years of IFC and I retired, but in my previous role, I did a lot of interviewing for roles. And it used to get very frustrating sometimes with the HR department being so finical with who they wanted, and so much education, so much experience and all that. And I came through when the people came off the boats or came out of the woods and came up there to pay off a car like my dad did and stayed all that time. So, I was always a little bit perturbed sometimes with this interview process because of that. So anyway, before I left the plant, before I retired, I put my notice in, and we had to hire 7 people. So I got to get that done before I leave, got to get that done. So we're drilling down and we're doing interviews. So I had an interview with a young fella, and it was Zoom because it was at the time when there was still COVID and you had to be careful. So it was on Zoom. But the young fellow was here, and I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't quote me on it, but I'm 90% sure. He worked here in Labrador West already, and he was from Mary's Harbor. So he introduced himself from the coast. He's from Mary's Harbor. And so, so we got to chatting. And at this point, I'm looking for forgiveness, Mike McCann. HR wasn't on, so I moved ahead. HR wasn't on the call, so I moved ahead. I said, we can do this, me and my senior supervisor. And he was actually taking my role when I retired as the superintendent of operations. So I said, we can do this. So we interviewed a couple of people, and all of a sudden this young fella came on the line. And so we got to the point, and I said, okay, we still got to follow the HR protocol and go through the process, but I really wanted to get these people hired before I left. Didn't want to leave it to my predecessor. He had a lot on his plate as well. So we get to talking, and you get to, okay, so I said to him, can you give me an example of where you took initiative to get something done? And I could see he was struggling, right? He said, example to get things done. I said, do you need me to give you an example of taking initiative to get things done? He said, yes, ma'am, I would love that. I said, all right. HR told me not to lead the witness, but I'm leading the witness. I said, all right. I said, my mom is a widow and her bridge fell off. So I took the initiative to go up, see if we get a few people together, take off the old one, put on a new one, and go. My God, mate, isn't that what everybody does? He said, that's what father told me. That's what I'm brought up to do, because you got to be a team player. If you're not a team player, you're no good to nobody. In my head, I said, you're hired. Oh, yeah, you're coming on board, pal. I said, all right, do you have an example? He said, you just gave a good example, mate. Why give another one? So that was the type of thing for me. And there was a few more examples like that. And he did work in Labrador West at the time. So anyway, so we got off the phone and we were doing our scorecards and do what we do, and said, okay, who do we hire? We had interviewed about 12 people. And that young fella kept coming back to my mind, because that's who I am. I like engagement. I like people who can take initiative. I like people who understand it. I don't need them to read from a book for me for it. I need them to understand it to do it. We got enough people talking about it. We need to do it. So I gave that story because the next 3 days is just that perspective. We are one team with no political agendas on could haves or should haves. We move forward together, building partnerships to identify and understand the needs of the Labrador West. We prioritize it, take ownership and actions from it to work on, because this is not just about Labrador West, it's for the province of Newfoundland as a whole as well. We don't survive, they don't survive. So take ownership, actions, work on it. And if you were here for any other agenda, you're at the wrong summit. You're at the wrong summit if you're here for any other reason. Okay? For the record, offered a young fellow a job. That's his story. Turn me down. I said, God, turn me down. I said, phone him because, you know, he tried to do everything. And the guy said, yeah, you got to go to the next candidate you want because he turned you down. So we need to turn me down. No way, I'm calling myself. My God, if I can't talk him into coming, who can? Called him and said, you know, we offered you a job. Is there a reason? Did we miss something? Is it not good enough? You already live here. And he gave us all the things. Like, he was told that growing up in Mary's Harbor with no road to get here, and I'm pretty sure he was told that you need to get a trade if you don't want to be a fisherman and go out west. He was out west, and his buddy said, man, you got to come Lab West, not out west. This is where it's happening. So he came in here on a skidoo trip and a hunting trip with his buddy and realized it was good. And he could go home on his week off and all that good stuff. So I said, are you moving back home or what's on the go? He was very excited to be here. He talked so good about Lab West. I was like, man, you don't want to be here or what? No, mate. He says, not like that. My God, he said, this company hired me. They're so good to me. I ain't got the heart to leave them. How can I leave them? He said, they're just so good to me. I said, but I don't think they pay us what we pay. My love, he said, I can make money anywhere, catch birds, do whatever I need. He said, but I need to be happy. He said, I need to do what I do. And I said, good for you, buddy. I wish you all the best. That's humbled. That's what this room needs to be all week, humbled to get to the solutions. So in saying that, we don't want to solve it all in 3 days. And I think, I don't get nervous often, but that's one of my nervous things is people are going to leave here and think we solved it. This is just the beginning of the summit to pull it together as partnerships. It's not to solve it all, okay? We won't solve it all in 3 days, but we need to have mature conversations on what the future of Lab West looks like. We can agree that we create community partners with some fantastic leaders working together to find proactive solutions before it's too late and we become reactive. There are many leaders here today and many of you at the table that don't have titles. And everybody knows who I am, but because a leader does not require a title, because a leader doesn't have a title, no matter where you sit, you get to see and feel what's missing and have a voice, as Ed said. We all have to make the tough decisions, and sometimes we are unpopular, but we try diligently to make the best decisions for our community with no political agenda or discrimination. So very often, we lead with our hearts, and we make decisions with our hearts because we live here. We have to make decisions with our heart because we feel it. It's not a weakness to have a heart in the leadership role. Some people think it is, it's not. We are engaged and we know our community and its issues. As you can tell, I'm an engagement person. I had the most steps and heartbeats on my watch this morning. Anybody here? Guaranteed. That's who I am. We are engaged as a community. We know our community and its issues. Because we care, we want to grow together to be a great community and province. Yes, you need to have heart. If you care enough, then you're doing it for the right reasons, not for your own personal gain. We must always ensure to take care of 3 groups. And another good friend and joint mentor over the years sat down when I sit with a lot of different groups, and he's here today. And when I went into mayor, we had a good chat, and he said some things to me that always stuck. And it doesn't matter. When I speak mentorship, a lot of people think it's your senior. Mentorship can come from a 6-year-old. Mentorship can come from a kid who's sick in a bed. Mentorship can come from the janitor in the hallways of IOC, because everybody's got perspective. That's all it takes to be a mentor. But when I was struggling, went into mayor, for those who don't know, I didn't even be council before this, so I just randomly said, yeah, I think I'll be mayor 2 days after or council originally, 2 days after I retired from IOC, when my son said, see a poster, they need people on council, you should run. I said, all right, here we are. So I need to lean on a lot of people for mentorship and in leadership roles, whether it's the janitor in the leadership role, it doesn't matter to me. I have a lot of good people in my life, thankfully. But we must always take care of these three groups, and I use it all the time in council, and they know what I'm going to say. Today is the same. The next 3 days are the same. We got to take care of our youth. We got to take care of our seniors. We got to take care of our most vulnerable. That's when you have a great community. You got to take care of three. All those three. And the rest will fall in place for that great community and province. I have all the confidence in everyone here to get solution, and this summit is just the beginning of getting it done. But if you look at everything I've talked about in the last 10 minutes, I think Lydia got timer. I really think that's what the thumbs up is. In the last 10 minutes, it's all those pressing points that bring it all together. And that's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to do this week. I challenge Ed to keep us on track. I appreciate that, and I know he will. I challenge everybody here to challenge each other to stay on track. If you see a personal agenda, step back, call it out. We're all mature adults. We're all leaders here trying to do the same thing. If you weren't trying to do the same thing, you wouldn't be here. And again, if you're here for another agenda, wrong summit. Wrong summit. As I came and walked around this morning, meeting people, and I'm telling you, it's history here today. I don't know if people realize it. It's history to see so many government officials here today, so many leaders in the room, industry, steel workers, mining industry, technology. It's just wonderful to see everybody here. But as I walked around today and I hear a couple stories, and I'll use this hotel as an example, closed down. We have a young man, Justin Sagan, who decided to buy this. I'm sorry, Justin, if I'm calling you out, I think you can take it. If not, you're at the wrong summit too. Just having a quick conversation with him, and he's all pumped. Justin Sagan is part owner of this hotel with another person, people, whatever it looks like. Either way, Justin decided he's going to do this. We were crying for daycare. What did Justin do? Build on the other end of daycare. He built on the other end. Excited when I walked over, said, guess what we're doing? Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? I said, no, I didn't hear nothing, Bob. What's going on? I'm surprised someone didn't message me for something big or small. And he said, we're going up to 85, from 33 kids to 85. Well done. Just this summit in general, we're talking around the town, okay? For 2 years, I'm saying we don't have a developer. 3 developers came forth in the last couple of days saying, I want to do something, right? Justin said, I can help with that. So if we look at it, okay, there's a company renting rooms here because they work here. He's got the daycare, and he makes the comment, and it's joking, but it's sort of serious. There's conversations they got to have no matter what you hear. He said, and on the other end, it could probably be seniors. So look at Justin taking care of the youth, the seniors, and the most vulnerable. People with no roof over their heads, the seniors and the youth. That's the forward thinking that Justin brought to town when he moved here and met a young Lab West woman to stay here. We want a doctor to come here and met a young Lab or older Lab West woman. Whatever it looks like, I'm good. To stay here and develop the town of Labrador City. That's the forward thinking we need to go forth. And there's a lot more of that out there. We didn't have a green depot. I looked out at Mr. Temple. We didn't have a green depot. It was in array. Few meetings, we got a green depot. You know, talks to the trade in NL this morning, talking about how they've grown. Labrador West is here too. But we need some of these resolved before we can get there. So very thankful, forward way thinking, much appreciated. Let's not look back, only if Jonathan Riviere says, let's learn something for it to bring forward. Other than that, let's move forward and make Labrador West Summit the best it's ever been. Probably the first time, but it's the start of what it's going to be to get growth and development in Labrador West. Thank you so much.
My wife calls me the most boring man in the world. Most of the husbands here would agree with that you're that way. But when somebody is really fired up about something, is really passionate about something, it's something that you really care about listening. And I heard one of her comments. She said, one of the most important groups in our community that we want to take care of is our youth. You start taking care of the youth by giving them a voice. You start giving the youth a chance to grow and develop. And one of the things we're going to do right now is we're going to have Leah Patterson from the Newfoundland Youth Parliament come up and give a presentation. That takes a lot of bravado for a young person to come and speak in front of a group like this. So I hope you take a second and give her a warm welcome and listen closely to what she has to say.
Feel long-winded anymore. Belinda got up and I was like, yes. I'd like to begin by welcoming all the government officials and guests to our communities, and I hope you've all been here before. But if you haven't, please take some time during your trip to truly experience Labrador West. As a young person who was born and raised here, let me tell you how even at -40, the sun still shines in the skies of Labrador. The future of Labrador West Summit is about embracing the future, and we cannot do this without acknowledging our past. 1962 saw the opening of the Iron Ore Company of Canada, attracting many folks to what was then Carroll Lake. All these years later, here we are, still providing revenue for the province and adventuring our land. From October until April, people of all walks of life experienced skiing, snowshoeing, skidooing, miles and miles of wilderness covered in blankets of snow. And during our short but sweet summer, softball, hiking, biking, and summer camp are just some of my favorite activities. Former Lieutenant Governor Judy Foote told me that youth are not only the leaders of tomorrow, but the leaders of today. I am 16 years old, and I'm here to share with you my hope for the future of Labrador West. We have a very diverse population. Something that brings us together is our recreation. I'd like to thank all the recreation committees and executives around town for everything they do. But without government support, they cannot efficiently execute these activities. From school athletics to organized community sports, there are a number of ways youth can be active in our community. Menahek High School varsity sports can be a very big deal, and while they are beyond grateful for flights being subsidized, high school sports should not be pay to play. A trip to Gander for 10 players and 2 coaches costs $7,602. Without donations from around our community, players would have paid $760 each instead of $368. Let's put our money into the future, like junior high sports who cannot afford to travel due to lack of funding, or Smoky Mountain Ski Club. We are the North, the big land, 9 months of winter, and our ski lodge is 60-odd years old. Think of the tourism money. Even just from Vermont alone, Smoky sees over $1,000 revenue every weekend. Right now, Labrador West needs something to not only attract new residents, but to keep the residents we have. An updated recreation complex would be remarkable, with a 50-meter swimming pool, a hockey stadium, a skate rink, a gym-like workout world. This would see everyone from our youngest of children to our senior aquafit program. An updated complex would help to foster health, wellness, and a sense of community in our residents. When it comes to the future of our region, it is necessary to consider our youth, the future leaders. And in order to ensure that they are set for the challenges the undetermined future will offer, a quality education is needed. Malcolm X once said, "Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs only to the people who prepare for it today." Over the last few years, I'm sure everyone's heard of Labrador's teacher shortage and the circumstances of our schools. A retired teacher referred to it as a house of cards. We can build it over and over again, but a small gust of wind will still knock it over. Most children begin to mature in middle school, developing hormones and emotions. It's important to have someone these students can turn to. The 2022-23 school year saw J.R. Smallwood with a virtual guidance counselor. If she was unavailable at the time of a crisis, teachers were left to deal with mental health issues alone and unequipped to safely do so. In addition to mental health and wellness, school staff have an insurmountable responsibility to ensure their students attend a well-kept and maintained facility. In 10th grade, I took Occupational Health and Safety 3201, and one project was to do a health inspection on Menahek High School. I spent 3 weeks taking pictures of my school. Our promised painting was not completed during the summer of 2023, and teachers have been taking it upon themselves to plaster and paint for almost 10 years. It has been said that the educational opportunities for students in Labrador West have not changed in the previous year. This is unfortunately not true. Junior high technology classes plummeted from 8 class slots to 1. That's 7 classes times 25 students is 175 students who live in a mining town without a workshop class. My biology teacher told me last week that having teachers in Labrador is like having a girlfriend. They're not hard to get, keeping them is the hard part. Implementing a retention bonus where wages increase based on how many years you live in an isolated community would create more consistency for students and staff and encourage folks to not only come and teach, but to stay and teach. Having a strong education system will quite literally provide Labrador West and the rest of Newfoundland and Labrador with a bigger and brighter future. This afternoon, our topic is healthcare, and with an alarming number of stories I could tell you from patients and families, whether it be about emergency wait times or medevac issues, I'd like to share a personal and positive one. Without the limited numbers of doctors and nurses Labrador West has, my life would have drastically changed just this year. In early January, my grandfather was admitted to the Lab West Healthcare Center to help streamline the process of his open heart surgery in St. John's. During this time, staff at our hospital were incredible, and my family is beyond grateful for them. Even on days where they were run ragged, never stopped, 12 hours, up and down the corridor, they would never fail to stop and see if there was anything they could do. One of our biggest flaws is the medevac. The plan to have an air ambulance in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Gander is astounding. While there's no cutting down on how long it takes to get to St. John's from Wabush, the air ambulance being an hour away is far more advantageous than 2.5. Things like the new MTAP program are more than welcome in these medical travel situations, as it covers about 75% of a patient and non-medical escorts preset ticket costs. Speaking of travel, I can't wait to go to town, get a pretzel, see a movie, buy my grad dress. This is a trip teens on the island are very used to. But if I wanted to go to the capital of our province for my grad trip, I could leave Wabush today and return Wednesday, March 6th for $1,672. My dress budget just plummeted to $20. But if I fly the other direction, the same trip to Montreal, leave today and return next Wednesday, I could go for $499.99. I could then buy my grad dress and Habs tickets for the price of the St. John's flight. Our province prides itself on tourism, our landscapes and culture. Is it not sad that the people who make up this culture and take care of our landscapes cannot afford to experience it? I've never been to Marble Mountain, but I have my second trip to Stoneham, Quebec booked this Easter break. Labrador West is home to many amazing events and attractions. Cane's Quest is starting in a few days, Winter Carnival is next month, Iron Fest is again in August. But honestly, I'd begrudge Taylor Swift $1,000. Labrador West Minor Soccer traveled to St. John's last year for a tournament. Prices of rental vehicles were raised for peak tourism, but we won't have tourism if it costs $2,000 to rent a minivan for 4 days. Earlier, I mentioned Labrador's diverse population. We have babies born almost as often as our seniors are partying. Today, we are here to discuss the future of Lab West, but in order to create a future, we must first avoid our prior mistakes. We need retirement homes, senior living houses, bungalows, no upstairs, washer, dryer, and bathroom, all on one floor. We have a frightening number of seniors having to leave, not only because they cannot receive their health care, but because they simply cannot afford to live here. Grandparents, parents, the pioneers, backbone of our community, who have all come to the consensus that it's just not worth living here. Every trip to the grocery store is $100 per person. Gas is another couple of hundred. And for seniors without a license, we have very little public transportation. If we cannot take care of our older residents, what attracts young people to come here? What makes me want to come back after university? Potential. The definition of potential is having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. Here in Labrador West, we are something. We are more than $1 million mine. We are more than a pathway to Quebec. We are more than expensive flights and teacher shortages. It's time that we work together, the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow, to build a bigger, brighter, and better future for Labrador West. As you can see here to my left, we are so good and we have so much love for our home. But we could be great and everybody could love our home. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. So now I know the level of public speaking that's required. I know the level of passion that's required. We all know, here's a young person in our community that's expressed things so crystal clear of what the future requires from us today. Okay, she wants to make this her home for the next 80 years, 90 years, whatever it takes. Yeah, right. So what are we going to do about it? Thank you again. That was wonderful. You hit the nail on the head. I'd like now to welcome Minister Lisa Dempster, the Minister of Labrador Affairs, to bring greetings. Thanks.
Well, I thought the mayor was going to be a hard act to follow, but Leah, that was very, very powerful. And those of us at decision-making tables, we need to hear that. And I sort of wanted to launch in and bypass my script into housing and a 5-point plan and into healthcare and into the new air road integrated ambulance system. But my boss is on the way. He's actually airborne now from Goose Bay, and I don't want to steal the Premier's thunder from I believe he's speaking actually shortly after he gets here. So I'll leave that to all of him, all of those topics to him. Nice to be in Labrador West, to stand here and see a packed room. I think the message has already been clear. While there's a lot of leadership here in this room, and I do want to acknowledge my colleagues in the House of Assembly, the municipal, the Indigenous partners, the real change is going to come from on the ground. I just think about myself, my colleague, the MP, started at the municipal level for a long time. And Margaret Mead, one of the quotes that I love says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever have." You know, when decisions are made, or the closest decisions can be made to the ground, to the people most impacted, the stronger the likelihood that those decisions are going to be successful. That's always been my motto. I enjoyed its comments about the grass and the grass greener, because it was just yesterday as I was flying, I saw this little meme in social media that said, "I've been so busy working on my own grass, I haven't had time to notice if yours is greener." And I think that resonates here for Lab West and the Summit. You have the potential, you have what you need. We just need to collectively work together. And it's already been, it seems to have been a running theme all morning about unity. Yes, Labrador has its challenges. We don't call it the big land for nothing. We're a small population, 6% of the province's population, spread over a large land mass where you could take all of the Atlantic provinces and put down into Labrador. But we have the potential. We are an economic driver. We know the revenue that comes in from mineral to the provincial treasury, but we have to work together. When you're in a boat and everybody is not rowing in the same direction, you don't get that far. And it's nice also to be here with the president of IOC, and I place a lot of value on the relationship that we have and the work that we are doing together. I spent 23 years as a career and employment counselor, and during that time, there was a 2-year mining tech program. I don't know if it still runs here, but we sent so many up from the coast, and sometimes I would feel, oh, I don't know, but the numbers on the coast are getting smaller and smaller, and Labrador West is growing. But when I come in and attend a large gathering last night, and I see people like Victoria that I watched grow up on the coast as a young girl, and to now find themselves in positions like she's in. When I started as a career and employment counselor, the people holding the teaching positions and the social work positions and the legal positions, they were people that were coming in. But more and more and more over my time here, I'm seeing it's our own people that are stepping up, and they got the passion like the young lady that you just heard from Leah. And those are the people that we need to listen to. So I just, looks like the flight got in. I see Dr. Pat have joined us. It's nice to see you, Dr. Pat Parfrey. I think I'm going to bypass all my notes in the interest of time because I'm more interested in hearing from the other speakers today. But I just want to say, as the minister responsible for Labrador Affairs and Indigenous Affairs and Reconciliation, we are two small teams. It overlaps a lot, Labrador Affairs and Indigenous Affairs, but we touch and work closely with every department in government, every department. If there's a company that's wanting to do some work with Indigenous folks and they come to us, what's our duty to consult? And in right from one end of Labrador to the other, we work very, very closely. So kudos to my staff. And I have built a very strong relationship with my colleagues just because of the very nature, the complexities, the challenges, but also the potential across Labrador. And I want to say to the folks who planned this summit, toss a big bouquet to you. The fact that the flight that's en route now is bringing in the Premier, my colleague, the Minister for Housing, my colleague, the Minister responsible for Industry, Energy and Technology. That should tell you that you've got our attention as the provincial government. What's happening in Labrador City and Wabush matters to us, and we see the potential. We also know there's challenges, and we want to work. We want to continue to work with you. Healthcare was mentioned, the medical transportation program, so vitally important. It's a program where if you have to travel to access specialized services, there is a subsidy available, an assistance program. We're not where we need to be yet. The Premier put the program under my responsibility in budget 2023, an extra $1 million. We've made a number of enhancements to that program. And you might wonder why a provincial program come under a Labrador minister, because we are only 6% of the population. But for obvious reasons, our geography, we do use, Labradorians use the program 5.5 times more than the rest of the province. And so the Premier and I were here. We did an upfront voucher program in September. We've announced a number of enhancements. We're going to continue to build on that. I'm trying to skim very, very fast. I just want to say in closing, my door is always open to work with you, to coordinate with you, and to try and move forward working together. I want to thank the Labrador West Chamber of Commerce for organizing this summit and assembling all the folks here together. I'm looking forward to Kane's Quest, also something else, another event that really puts Labrador on the map. I'd be remiss if I didn't say a little bit concerned, because we haven't had the cold temperatures that historically we usually have. And while we know it's a tough race, no one wants it to be a tragic race. But I will be here and look forward to connecting with some of the racers on fan night, and hope it all goes well. And I don't know if I'm missing anything. I'm just looking at conscious of the time here. I want to say to Labrador West, if people are doubting how far you can go so far that you can't hear them. You have the potential. Just a few, maybe 4 weeks, we will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Labrador flag. And it was, we've already heard about, this is the 75th anniversary for our province joining Confederation. And it was when special projects were requested for the 25th that Mike Martin and his team assembled the flag. We live here, we were born here, we were raised here. Life's not always easy here, but we're fiercely proud of where we come from. And working together, we will continue to be here for many, many years to come. Look forward to chatting with many of you on our breaks. Have a safe rest of the day. Thank you.